Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Can of Corn Show. It's been a great week for baseball. I'm your host, Brian Logan, and I've been joined by my lovely wife, Ashley Logan. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Are you about ready to talk about some baseball?
Sure.
Well, what qualifies you to talk about baseball?
Well, I've been watching Die Hard for 8 years. Before that, I've been with you 16 years, so another 8 years of watching it with you while I read. The Die Hard years, I've really gotten into baseball with the stats and the players and really paying attention to everybody. The Cubs, of course, I know in and out. I should, because I love them. They saved my life at one point. We'll get into that in another segment, but I love baseball. I can't stand not having it. When it's off season, I have to watch football because I have to have something, but my love is baseball. I played it as a kid. I just love every aspect of it. It's calming. You have to think. I just love it.
Well, not a lot of women support their husbands the way you support me, and they definitely would not come on a podcast with them. I'm not saying there's not a lot of female baseball fans, because there are tons and tons and tons of female baseball fans. But what made you want to come on this podcast and support me?
Honestly?
Sure.
The first one you did sucked. It was horrible. You were reading off of a piece of paper without any opinions, without any color. It was dry. It was boring.
So you're saying it was like paint drying, the insomniac's best friend?
Yes.
Well, that's it, folks. There you have it. She has put her foot down and said that I was so boring that no one could listen to it. It was completely unlistenable.
Absolutely.
And that we should do it together. So here we go. We're going to try to do it together. There are 3 new rules for the 2023 season. They involve no shift, bigger bases, and a pitch clock. So our first topic is going to be these new rules for 2023. Ashley, what's your opinion on the no shift rule?
Honestly, the shift never really bothered me. What bothered me was that a lot of these guys just couldn't put it in the hole. And they were using, this guy can't hit over here, so let's move to where he usually does hit. I understand that premise, but, like an Anthony Rondon or a Ian Happ I know a Pete Rose could have done it. They should have hit the holes. That drove me nuts. It was like, okay, if they're going to shift on you, then hit it where they're not. And that seldom happened. So I'm kind of glad that the shift's gone, but it didn't really bother me. I never really paid much attention to the shift or where they were.
Well, I hated the shift.
I know you did.
I thought it was stupid and
I know.
asinine, and I never understood. Of course, my thoughts were of Pete Rose. How come you would never shift on Pete Rose, because he would slap it through the third base side or
exactly my point exactly.
But some of these left-handed, I think the shift was more harmful to left-handed batters. They would all rotate over towards right field, and I never understood why they couldn't go the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm. My point exactly. They should have hit it where they weren't, and they should have had more control of the bat and their swing and known how to put it where they weren't, and they just couldn't. It was like they couldn't do it, and it drove me insane.
Yeah, it drove me insane also. I mean, easy sitting at home saying that, well, if I was there, I'd do this, or so-and-so was there, that could happen. but it really did seem like a no-brainer on some of these guys. And like a Freddie Freeman, I mean, it really, the shift was their number one defense against Freddie Freeman, and I never understood why he didn't use, the opposite field power or
Right.
just slap it the opposite direction. But we don't have to worry about shifts anymore.
We are couch coaches.
Well, absolutely.
We're totally couch coaches.
Well, apparently so. I mean, and apparently now that's what this podcast is about, is couch coaching.
Exactly.
It used to be about facts, and that was too boring. Nobody wanted to hear that. So now we're going to make it about couch coaching. So that's all right. From can of corn to couch coaching. A lot of C words in there. So the no shift means now that there has to be an alley, but over second base into the outfield. So the second baseman and the shortstops cannot go any further than that alley. So there has to be a way for the ball to go straight up the middle. And also they have to have at least their heels on the dirt. They can't be in the outfield. They can't be on the grass. They can't be in shallow right field. Well, what about the bigger bases? What's your thoughts on the bigger bases?
I like the bigger bases because the bases to start with were pretty little. I thought we had discussed it and everything. If it was bigger bases, obviously the stealing, which we'll talk about in a minute, is so much easier. The running is easier, I believe. I just like it all the way around.
I like the bigger bases also. When they told me last season there was going to be bigger bases, I immediately thought of Ricky Henderson when he won the stolen base or set the stolen base record, and he held the base up over his head. And I imagined a big, giant, oval, like huge base, and that he was going to have to be holding that. So little Ricky Henderson with this big UFO thing over his head.
You joked about that several times with me in Dallas. It was nonstop there for the last end of the season.
Dallas Danger giving a shout out to my former podcast host who has moved on to bigger, better things in the recording area and music, and we wish him nothing but luck, but we miss you, pal. Also, with the bigger bases are coming, people are outrunning the small ball on the infield, and they're saying that the bigger bases are giving them that extra step. I don't know if it actually gives them an extra step or not. It
can't be a full step.
It can't be. It's an inch at best.
Yes.
I mean, they call them pizza boxes because they're about the size of a pizza box.
Right.
So it may help on a bang bang play at first. It might actually make some people safe or out. But I think that's the only base that it actually affects.
It might help on double play some because the base is bigger to tag onto, too.
Well, that's a good point. That's a very good point that it would be, in theory, less distance to travel to scrape the bag when making the pivot throw to first base. I can see that. So, yeah, absolutely. So you got the no shift, you got the bigger bases, and now that brings us to the pitch clock disengagements. Now, the way this goes, and I'm going to do this because you said I'm so boring, I'm not going to read it, I'm going to try to tell you about it. So each batter, each base runner gets 2 disengagements. On the third disengagement, you must record an out or it is credited to another base. Also, that... it's hard to do without facts. It's hard if the more than disengagements, there is 1 extra strike. If the batter has to be ready by the 8-second rule or 8-second mark, or he will be accredited with a strike, and then the pitcher would be accredited with a ball.
Okay, you're proving my point exactly. It's confusing to the layman. It's very confusing for a ditzy blonde like me to understand this pitch clock. Honestly, I have been ignoring it. I don't pay attention to the clock. I don't pay attention to the batter. I've realized that they can't take timeouts like they used to, which which that hurts them in a way because they can't confuse the pitcher. They can't get him off rhythm. That bothers me. I just don't like it, so I'm ignoring it. I don't understand it, so I'm ignoring it. Except for when they mess up and they're like, oh, you can have an extra base, or that's a ball, or that's a strike. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Well, basically, you can throw over there twice, and on the third one, you get penalized a strike, or the batter gets the next base.
Right.
And then the batter must be ready at 8 seconds and in the box, or he'll get a strike.
Right.
Okay. So I'm getting that backwards, but I think everybody gets the gist.
I just think it's too many details go into it, and that's got to be confusing to our guys.
Well, I think they're adjusting very well, but I
don't know. Max Scherzer evidently wasn't.
Well, no, he was having some trouble there, and he decided to use a little substance.
He messed up, didn't he?
He did. He messed up. I think he's having a trouble with the clock speeding him up.
Because he was a slow pitcher. He was methodical.
Very methodical, and it obviously he needs more time than
to
what
adjust,
what the clock's allowing.
But unfortunately, he's gotten in trouble now, so that's penalizing him. So he fucked up.
Yes, he did. He definitely messed up, and that one's going to cost him, and that one's going to follow him around. But these new rules are leading to more stolen bases because the pitchers can only throw over there twice, so you can get bigger leads. Let me read you something here. These new rules have led to stolen bases being up this season. Stolen bases are the comeback play of the year. The rate of stolen bases has risen from 41.2% to 0.51% and 0.69 per game. If this trend stays true, the biggest jump in MLB history, which is 1.7 attempts per team per game. Now, this goes back to the 2010, 2000 season, 1973 season. So what it's doing is it's bringing back stolen bases. And out of the first 241 attempts, 196 were successful. That's 81%, which is an all-time high. Which means, and it breaks down like this, depending on the disengagements. At 0 disengagements, you have a 73% chance of stealing a base. If 1 disengagement happens, you have an 81% chance. And if 2, you have an absolute 100% chance of stealing that base.
Right.
Based on the 4 attempts, 4 for 4, that has happened with that occurring.
Right.
And stealing third base is up from 77% to 97%.
Jesus. Well, it makes me wonder, though, where you talked about 1973. Well, what it makes me think of is, why was it up so high in 1973?
Cocaine. No, that was 86 and only the Mets.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was up because the guys were getting leaner and faster. The pitchers had bigger deliveries. The whole thing is that we were running more. Guys were stealing over 100 bases or close to 80 to 100 a season. And now with the pitchers previous to 2023, we're throwing over there so many times they couldn't get the lead. Where typically before it was 1 or 2 times, 3 times.
Right.
But they would throw 4 or 5 times in the past couple years.
Yeah.
And the runner had no chance.
Now that I like, because, man, we used to boo them when the other team would throw to first. I mean, you could hear the crowd just boo because you need to take care of the batter. Quit worrying about the runner. Take care of the batter.
Well, I agree. And a lot of these new rules have cut out the dead time. The games that used to be 3.5 hours are now being cut down to 2.
I understand that, but you know what? I liked the 3.5 hours because for 3.5 hours out of my day during baseball season, I could yell and scream and cuss at the TV all I wanted, and it was it was therapy for me. It really helped me. So these games being shorter for me isn't a good thing. I miss the long games.
Well, see, I completely disagree. I think it's streamlined the games and made them more exciting. I think we're getting more quality over quantity. And I think that with the base running the way it is, I mean, take a Nico Horner. He's stolen several bases. His hustling's up, and it's all because of these new rules.
Well, I agree with that and everything, but I never thought it was that boring to begin with, except for maybe back in the early 2000s. Well, 2007, 2008, 9, 10. I didn't really enjoy the game as much as I do now.
Well, the Guardians, the Astros, and the Dodgers are leading the way in this area. They're attempting to steal more bases. This goes back to when it first started being tracked in 1951. The rate was about 76% on average until now, which is 81%.
Yeah.
It's been rising the past few years through 2021 and 22 seasons. Basically, the base runners are getting smarter, and the new rules are just giving the intelligence to the runner, and that boils down to one extra stolen base every 25 attempts. So that mounts up, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is.
And it's amazing how just a few rules have changed everything.
All right, let's move over to the American League, and let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays have been on a tear, having won 14 home games to break the tie with the 2009 Dodgers for the longest opening win streak in American League, National League modern era.
I never really paid attention to the Rays until Brian's friend Eric Lester. He works, isn't the Whistle Pigs?
The Whistle Pigs used to be the Princeton Devil Rays. Now the Devil Rays have moved to Bluefield.
Right.
And the Whistle Pigs are part of the Appalachian League, and he's the PA announcer.
Correct.
For the Whistle Pigs. So
Correct.
He did work for the Devil Rays, and that's his team.
So he is connected in a way. And when he was over here last week, 2 weeks ago at the most, and was like, hey, can we watch the Rays? And I didn't realize that was his favorite team. And they weren't bad.
No, they were very good. I was impressed. Like we said, he came over, and we watched 10 games that weekend, 3 of them being the Devil Rays. And we had really enjoyed them. I enjoyed seeing the pitching very well. They had some guys that could really hit the ball, and it just really opened my eyes to the Devil Rays. And I'm considering, I've been looking for the past few seasons for an American League team. So I'm officially putting the Devil Rays in there as maybe, a maybe.
No, I can see that. If I had to pick anybody out of the American League, it probably would be the Rays because... gosh, I hate the American League.
Well, the American League speaks very highly of you.
I know, but I've never liked any team in the American League. You say American League, and I'm like, ugh. And they always win the All-Star games now, and that just pisses me off.
Well, with plays like Wander Franco's barehanded catch in the top of the 5th inning against the Astros last Monday, the Rays won that matchup 8-3. Houston catcher Marlon Maldonado lofted a fly ball into foul territory down the left field line. Sprinting over 96 feet, Franco made an incredible catch near the visitors' bullpen. So this guy caught the ball in foul territory, down by the bullpen, almost in left field with one hand, the bare hand.
Yes, I heard about that. I did not see it. I was doing something else. I think I was fixing dinner.
Well, it was fantastic. It was an incredible catch.
Getting dinner together or something. I missed it.
Well, you did. I'll show you that clip later, but it was an incredible catch, and it just showed the hustle, and Wander Franco is an incredible player for the Rays. The Rays are the fourth team to start the season by winning 13 straight. They are the first team to homer in 22 consecutive games to begin the year. However, that streak ended this past Monday, April 24th, at 20-3. They became the seventh team in modern era to win 20 of the first 23 games. But they lost to the Astros Monday. So the Astros got them.
Don't get me started on the Astros.
Well, they did. And the only two teams that have started out better were the 1911 Detroit Tigers and the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers. So they're in some pretty good company right there with those two teams. But the most important stat is the Rays boast a 92-run differential in 23 games. That means that they've outscored their opponents by 92 runs. That's the best in American National League history, and the closest team to that is the 1902 Pirates at 88. So they're scoring some runs.
So the Pirates were in the American League at one time?
No. That's just the 1902 Pirates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say that's weird.
It's the 92 run differential is the best in the American League and National League combined.
I gotcha.
And the closest team to it would be the Pirates.
It is amazing. I mean, 92. Whew.
I mean, that's a lot of runs.
That's a lot of runs.
I mean, so that means a lot of these games were blowouts. I mean, and you're talking that, they won 20, and they've only lost 3 games. I mean, up to press time. We're about a day off with these notes here.
Yeah.
So we don't know technically what happened Wednesday.
Right.
But 92 runs. It's incredible. Pitcher Taj Bradley has been 3-0 in the last 7 games. He's got a 3.52 ERA, 23 strikeouts in 15 innings, only allowing 12 hits with 6 earned runs and 2 bases on balls with a 0.91 whip. That's pretty good.
That is good.
But also, Pete Fairbanks has 3 saves in his last 5 appearances. I love that name. This past Sunday, Fairbanks set a club record for most scoreless innings, a record set by J.P. Howell at 27 1/3 without a run. Fairbanks extended that record 29 innings with a perfect frame against the White Sox with a 4-1 win. They've outscored their opponents 102-34.
Wow. And first of all, you would love that name.
Well, of course, Fairbanks. I mean, I can't take credit for that. Someone else, their teammate, named him that. But yeah. But also they have Shane McCutcheon, 4-0, 1.86 ERA. He's pitched 29 innings. He's got 37 strikeouts. His whip is 1.03. He's given up 18 hits, 6 earned runs, and 12 bases on balls. And the question is can the Rays offense and pitching hold out to be in the picture in October? One would certainly say so, but we're going to have to wait and see. What do you think? Do you think they can go all year long being contenders from day one to the end?
That's really hard to do, first of all. That's extremely hard to do. Everybody has it's like a roller coaster in baseball. You're really hot, and then something will happen and you get really cold. But if anybody can do it in the American League, I believe that from what I've seen of the Rays, they could possibly do it.
I agree. I think that they've got a good chance as long as they stay healthy. Of course, that's about every team.
Staying healthy. You got to stay healthy.
Got to stay healthy. That goes for every team that's out there.
That's what kills me is when people start getting injured. That's when it really comes down to who can survive it and who can't.
Well, let's go over to the National League, to the Pittsburg Pirates, who are in first place. They're willing to embrace what works. If that means a successful pitch, they're going to throw that thing frequently. One such player in upping the quantity of efficiency is Vince Vasquez. He's 2 out of 3 in the last 7 games with a 3.75 ERA. 7 scoreless innings with a season-high 10 strikeouts. What do you think about the Pirates?
You know what I think about the Pirates, but for the listeners, I don't like the Pirates. they've always given my Cubbies a really hard time. I remember one time when we had,
Come on now.
I know.
Ditzy.
Ditzy. Not John Lester, the other one.
Folks, she's finally figured out that she's stumped and doesn't know what she's talking about.
No, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I just can't think of his name. He was one of our pitchers. It wasn't John Lester. It was the Cowboy. Anyway, they creamed us. I mean, they had to take him out in the first inning. It was like 20-something to nothing. And I was so upset.
I don't think it was 20-something to nothing.
Yes, it was bad.
It might have been bad, but I don't think it was 20-something to
Yes,
nothing.
it was.
If it was 20-something to nothing, we would remember the
I'll have to look it up
All right, well,
because you missed it.
We will look that stat up for the next game. So Vasquez tossed 7 scoreless innings with a season-high 10 strikeouts. His formula is a slider and a 4-seam combo with a changeup sprinkled in. The Pirates swept both the Rockies and the Reds, accumulating a 7-game win streak. The slider particularly became a nuisance for the Reds, who had all kinds of trouble with the pitch. Last season, the Pirates won only 62 games, but they made significant improvements this season, placing in the top in runs with 111 and a 7.65 OPS this season. So they're putting up the runs.
I know, and they scare me, and I don't like them. I've never liked the Pirates. I don't like Pittsburgh. Eric gets mad at me all the time. He's like, Pittsburgh's a great city. And I was like, not when I was there. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. I mean, maybe I would like it now. This was back in the late 90s, but I just don't like Pittsburgh.
Well, Pittsburgh speaks very highly of you. I think I've already used that trope.
Yes, you have.
But we'll use it again. So Santana and McCutchen are leading the Pirate ship, which was a full sail until they faced the L.A. Dodgers Tuesday night. The Pirates' run come to an end. The Dodgers came back from a 7-2 Pirate lead to win 8-7. The Dodgers were led by Chris Taylor in the top of the 8th with a 3-run homer. Taylor, who was just tearing it up, went 3 for 4 with a home run, 3 RBIs, and scored 2 runs.
Love me some Chris Taylor.
Chris Taylor's a great ball player.
I love the Dodgers behind my Cubbies because of Dallas Danger. He introduced me to them. He taught me about them. And I really enjoy watching them now. I can kick your ass when I play with the Dodgers on MLB The Show 22. I destroy you every time, and you hate it.
They ought to be outlawed. Me and her play MLB The Show almost every night, and if she takes the Dodgers, we're playing the 22 version. We don't have 23 version yet, but we're playing 22. And if she takes the Dodgers, she kills me. And
Home run.
I've taken multiple teams, and she just destroys me.
He even put me in Fenway Park trying to stop me.
And the big green monster helped, but it did not stop the onslaught. But 13-11 is not the usual start to Dodger baseball. The club is struggling to produce runs without the long ball. Contrary to hitting the ball hard, they just aren't getting any results from it. The matter is more difficult when the bullpen, is really off to a slow start.
Yeah, and I have to ask, and I'm not giving Billy all the credit for the Dodgers, but do they miss our Bellinger that came to the Cubbies now? Are they, but they picked up our Jason Hayward, which is a great story. I don't know. Something happened with the Dodgers over the offseason.
Well, speaking of Jason Hayward, he was invited to camp, a former Cub. He made the Dodgers squad, and he has been performing at the top of the league in hitting percentage. Jason, with 41 at-bats, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, and a 686 OPS. Jason Hayward is really holding the Dodgers
of course.
together.
I mean, I used to get so mad at the commentators with Hayward, especially the Fox commentators. Oh, he's in a slump. He's in a slump. But I can guarantee you, I can almost guarantee you, when he was up to bat, that number one, he would at least get on first, but 9 times out of 10, I think he got on second. He would hit a double every time, but yet they kept saying he was in a slump.
Well, he's no longer in a slump. He's doing pretty well and producing very well. J.D. Martinez is also producing very well for the Dodgers with 88 at-bats, a .250 average, 4 home runs, and 15 RBIs with an OPS of 840. Both are outstanding talents who are contributing, but the surprise star and the standout and one of my personal favorites, James Outman. What a great story he is. He wasn't supposed to make the team either.
Man, he is awesome. He is just tearing it up.
James has 79 at-bats. He's batting .316. And he is just really, really doing very well.
Yes, he is. And he's a great story, too. I mean, you're not supposed to make the team. You make the team. You come out there, I guess, in spring training, and you just kick some ass, and you're on the team. That's great. That's a dream come true.
Well, James Outman has 7 home runs, 19 RBIs, and a 1.109 OPS. Outman blasted a couple of doubles against the Pirates Tuesday night. It was days earlier in Chicago versus the Cubs, where he helped out the Dodgers by going 4 for 5 with 2 home runs, one coming in the 9th for a 9-4 LA win.
Boy, was that hard to watch, man. I mean, when you love two teams very much and they have to go up against each other, you don't know what to do.
Exactly.
But ultimately, I'm cheering for my Cubs.
Well, yeah, we're cheering for the Cubs, but that was such a great 2 series for us because it was our 2 favorite teams.
Yes.
And we know both teams so well, and it was just such good competition. Of course, the Cubs did very well in L.A., and then the Dodgers did very well in Chicago. The Dodgers did struggle in L.A., but they seem to get it back together. They're putting things together here and there, but they cannot score without the help of home runs. They're going to need help from the bullpen as well because the bullpen's letting them down later in the game. And they're letting late runs come in. So when they're not scoring runs because they're not hitting the long ball, they have to depend on the bullpen, and the bullpen just hasn't been there.
Well, that goes back to 22 with the game. I mean, obviously they were good at hitting the long ball in 22. And now it seems like they just can't hit it.
Well, that's right. I mean, they outscore their opponents a lot. I mean, obviously to win the game, but they're doing it by the home run, and they really need to get it together. There's plenty of time for the Dodgers, and for Dave Roberts' sake, they need to start playing better.
For Dave Roberts' sake, for all their sakes.
Well, exactly. You're absolutely right. I mean, are the Dodgers better than 2 games over 500? Are they a better team?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Well, I think they are too, absolutely. But they need to play like it, and I'm not sure they've been playing like it. They've been playing like a team that's under 500.
Honestly, it's kind of funny, especially with the Dallas mixed in there, that the Cubs are playing on the Dodgers par, and the Dodgers are playing on the Cubs par.
Yeah, that's very ironic. The 2 teams have kind of
switched,
swapped up, and I'll stay with that.
I mean, the Cubs aren't doing anywhere as well as the Dodgers did at the beginning of last year. I mean, we are, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, as of press time, they're battling away with 13-9 record and a .591 winning percentage. Of course, that's up to Wednesday. And they're 2 games behind the Pirates in the National League Central. The Cubs are coming off of a couple-game win with L.A., as we mentioned, and a win Tuesday night in Chicago versus the Padres. And I believe they won today against the Padres.
They did.
And Drew Smyly and his curveball has helped out the Cubs tremendously with a 2-1 record and a .313 ERA in 4 games. Drew Smyly, very impressive this year.
I've always said Drew Smyly was going to improve. He was going to do better. And he has. He really has.
Well, against LA, he pitched 7 innings and then 5 innings for a total of 23 innings this year and 23 strikeouts. That's good numbers.
It's very good numbers.
But then there's Marcus Stroman and his slider.
My Stroman.
He's led the way for the Cubs with a 2-2 record, a 2.17 ERA, with 29 innings pitched with 30 strikeouts, giving up 7 earned runs with a whip of 1.
Wow.
1. But the offense has been led by Yan Gomes. I mean, he's looked great this year.
He's a powerhouse.
He absolutely is. He's settled in with the pitchers, and he's also contributing offensively.
Yes, when we lost Wilson Contreras, my heart broke. Now, it has since been turned cold for him because of what he said about the Cubs and the Cardinals clubs. But I thought, where are we going to find a catcher as good as Wilson Contreras? Well, guess what? He stepped up big time, and I think he's better than Willie. I think he has the potential to be better than Willie.
Well, the Cub announcers have been comparing him to Johnny Bench.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, the past couple of games, they've been calling him Johnny Bench.
Because I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, because he's been producing and calling the game right.
But I've missed a couple of days due to work. But
well, Yan Gomes has 55 at-bats. He's hitting .309 with 5 home runs and 12 RBIs and 1 stolen base for a catcher, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Which goes to show you that the new rules are helping out everybody, including the catchers.
Yes.
His OPS is 898, and that's pretty daggone good.
That is good.
But also, let's talk about Nico Horner. He's been on base 21 straight games as of press time with 98 at-bats, batting .347. 21 straight games.
You think he got on today?
I don't know. We're going to have to see when we watch the game later. I bet he does.
You want to make a bet?
Oh, I don't know. You already know?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I really don't. I think I have full faith that he's going to make it today, too. He's really, when COVID hit, him and Ian Happ, which is my baby boy, and another guy that I do not know his name, they housed up together.
Okay.
And they started working out together.
Okay.
And they started doing regimens together.
Yeah.
And I have noticed that since then, each year, those boys have been adding on and getting better and getting better. And I think it all started in that house.
Oh, it probably did. I mean, the more you travel with somebody, you live with somebody, the more you get to know them. And then when it translates, when you get out on the field.
Yes, absolutely.
You know the person's personality, you know their drive, you know what they're capable of, and you know their shortcomings.
So you can build them up better.
Absolutely. And you'll know where to cover when the other one's not there. Mm-hmm. And that's what the team effort's all about.
Exactly.
But let's talk about P. Wizzle. Patrick Wisdom. He's had 80 at-bats, 250 average, 9 home runs, and 18 RBIs with a 981 OPS.
Not bad.
Not bad. He has been there, especially against the Dodgers. He did very well against the Dodgers, and he seems to be contributing every game.
Well, let me tell you, last year he wasn't bad either. I always said last year when he got up to bat, there's guys that when they get up to bat, I'm like, oh no, oh please, oh please, oh please. And then there's guys that get up to bat and I'm like, he's got this. I know he can do this. And Wisdom was one of those last year. I knew when he stepped up to the plate that there was a very good chance he was going to do something.
Absolutely. The club is plugging along. They're better than a strong third-place team, in my opinion.
Yes.
They could be a contender, but it's still early. The pitching has to stay good, and the offense has to continue to pop. But they could
have to stay healthy.
Have to stay healthy, but they could be in the top spot soon. They're just a few games back behind the Pirates.
I don't see the Pirates being able to hold out long.
Well, there you go. I mean, you're hating on the Pirates, aren't you?
I just don't, unless they have made some major changes, I don't see the Pirates holding on.
Well, there you have it, folks.
But my Cubs have let me down too, so.
Well, let's hope they don't let us down anymore.
I hope so.
Ashley, have you had a good time doing this?
Sure.
Was this better than the first time with the paint drying?
Oh, God, I hope so.
Well, if it's not, I tell you what, folks, if this is better, we'll do a second episode. If it's like paint drying, then, well, this will go off into obscurity. But we appreciate you joining in with us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Can of Corn Show. And for Ashley Logan, I'm Brian Logan. We'll see you at the ballpark.